Okay. Good morning. All right, so today what we're going to be doing is practicing how to find the area of a circle when given the radius or the diameter. Bear with me because it's really hard to write on this paper with one hand and tape. All right, so you should be familiar with the terms radius and diameter from the previous lesson. Looking at the diagram here, okay, the radius is the line from the center of the circle to the outside point of the circle anywhere. Okay, the diameter is basically cutting the circle in half. It goes through the center of the circle. If you know the radius, you should be able to figure out what the diameter is because the diameter is twice the size of the radius. So, for example, if the radius was 4, your diameter would be 8. If you know the diameter, you should be able to figure out what the radius is. If the diameter was 12, that would make the radius 6. One way I remember the difference between the diameter and the radius is diameter just is a longer word. There's longer letters, so that's the longer of the two, whereas radius is shorter, less letters, so that's the shorter of the two. All right, so in order to calculate the area of a circle, we need a formula, okay? That formula is pi times the radius squared. Not radius 2, not times 2, radius squared. Now, pi is something that applies to circles only. Okay, it's a Greek symbol, and pi is essentially the relationship between the circumference, or the outside of the circle, right, the outside, the perimeter of the circle, divided by whatever the diameter is. Okay, if you take the circumference and divide it by whatever the diameter is, you're going to get something approximately about 3.14. Now, it's actually an irrational number that goes on and on forever, but this is what we estimate it to be. So if you take your calculators and you put or use the pi symbol, so the pi symbol right here, and if you press enter, you'll see a more exact or accurate representation of pi, 3.141592654, and so on. It's irrational, it goes on forever, but you'll often use this for pi. Okay, now, important, remember that you must follow the order of operations and do the exponents first, because you have multiplication here, and then you have exponents. All right, so in Model 1, find the area of a circle with a radius of 5 inches, okay? Now, first thing I want to do is write down my formula, pi times the radius squared. Now, remember, the radius is 5, so we're going to plug that in. So 5 squared. Please remember that 5 squared is not 5 times 2. It's 5 times 5. So some of you might actually want to expand that and write 5 times 5. Okay? So what you're going to do, like I said, your exponents first here. So that's really going to be pi times 25. All right, now this problem didn't give you any instructions for what to use for the value of pi. When they don't give you any instructions, it is assumed that you use the pi key in the calculator. Okay, so you write in your calculator 25, whoops, not 28, 25 times pi. Okay, and we get 78.539. Okay, some of you might be wondering, why did I stop at 0.539 when the calculator goes on and on forever? Okay, the reason I stopped there is because the direction is set to round to the nearest hundredth. The 3 is in the hundredths place, right? The 5 is in the tenths. The 3 is in the hundredths. So you're looking at the 9. And that means we're going to have a final answer of 78.54 inches. And it's to the second power since we're talking about area. Okay. All right. So, what is the area of a circle whose diameter is 12 feet? So it's asking us for area again. So writing down the formula, pi times radius squared. So with this formula, we need radius, but the problem gives us diameter. Remember that if we know the diameter, which in this case is 12, we should be able to figure out what the radius is, which is half the diameter, or 6. Okay. Big common mistake is that people use the 12, but it's not what the radius is. It's telling us what the diameter is, not the radius. So you have to figure that extra piece out. Okay. It also says here to use 3.14 for pi. All right. So area is equal to, instead of pi being the direction said to use 3.14, we are going to use 3.14 times, not 12 squared, but 6 squared. Okay, so again, taking your calculator, remember to do the exponents first, which is 6 times 6, or 36. Okay, then in the calculator, 36 times 3.14. Okay, and we get 113.04. Remember your units in this case, which are feet to the second power. Okay. All right, down here they happen to give us a picture. They don't tell you what they give you. You have to figure out. So this is from the center of the circle out. So this would be a radius. So your radius is 3 centimeters. And although we don't need it, just practice, the diameter would be 6 centimeters. Okay. Writing down our formula. So area is equal to pi times 3 squared. Now, this is important. I usually see them ask, this is the most likely the way you're going to see it. Leave your answer in terms of pi. This is the best way. It's the easiest way. Okay, what this means is that you never actually need to multiply by pi, because pi is such an irrational number. It's a long, drawn out number, infinite number that goes on and on forever. So all you have to do here is 3 times 3, which is 9. And then you just kind of attach the pi to it, almost like it was a variable. So your answer would be 9 pi. That's all. Okay? So down here, it reiterates what I just said. You never multiply by pi. You just attach it, almost as if it were a variable. Okay? And the final question here, it says Mariah has her grandmother's circular antique coffee table and wants to put a piece of glass over it in order to protect it from scratches. So imagine our circular coffee table. The glass would go here. What part of the circle is this that I just colored? The area. Okay. She measures the diameter to be 4 feet. When placing her order with the company, how many square feet of glass should she ask for? So this problem never specifically asks you to calculate the area. They just give you enough clues that you should know, because they're talking about this glass, which is the area, the inside of the circle, which is area, and they also mention square feet. Whenever they talk about square units, that means they want area. Okay? So, writing down our formula. Okay? Area is equal to pi times the radius squared. Problem gives us the diameter. So, too bad for us, we need the radius. We know the diameter is 4. That means the radius is half that, or 2 feet. Okay? So, area is equal to pi times 2 squared. Okay? And area is going to be equal to 4, because 2 squared is 4, times pi. This would be if I left my answer in terms of pi. If I had to use the pi key, 4 times pi gives me 12.5663761. They will always give you rounding directions when you have to use the pi symbol. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys a few practice questions on Google Forms. Let me know if you have any questions.